Hi students, I am Francis MC from Department of Economics. In today's session, we are going to discuss one of the relevant economic term, budget. Budget is the financial statement of actual and anticipated revenues and outlays of the government. And this is the detailed programs and the policies of action for raising the level of economic activity. Because in a budget, government is proposing the programs, government is preparing the policies of action, and all the programs and policies for the welfare of the people of the country and to raise the level of economic activities in the country. In increasing the level of economic activities of the people of the country, government is proposing programs, and expenditure is connected with that. And to meet the expenditure, there is a need of income, and thereby budget is a financial statement of actual and anticipated revenue and expenditures of the country for a period of time, normally 1 year. And we know when we talk about the features of the budget, as I mentioned, it is a statement of expected revenues and a proposed expenditure of the public authorities concerned, mainly government, in our discussion. Another feature of budget is it possesses periodicity, generally one current year. Third feature of a budget is it requires sanction from the public authority. For example, the case of Government of India, when the finance minister presents a budget in front of the parliament has to sanction it. Otherwise, it is not possible for the government to implement the programs and plans of action for the financial year. Then, when we talk about the budget, another feature of a budget is the anticipations of revenue and expenditure should make positive contribution to economic goal. Then when we categorize budget, there are two major categories. There is unbalanced budget and balanced budget. In the unbalanced budget, there are two more subdivisions: surplus budget and deficit budget. First of all, we have to talk about the term surplus budget. In the case of surplus budget, public revenue exceeds public outlays. When the anticipated revenue is more than anticipated expenditure of the government, we can say that that is a surplus budget. Then another is deficit budget. It is also a part of unbalanced budget. So in the case of a deficit budget, public revenue falls short of the public outlays. It means anticipated revenue is less than anticipated expenditures of the government. There is balanced budget. In this balanced budget, we know there is equilibrium between public revenue and public outlays. It means when the public revenue is in equilibrium with the public expenditure, we can say that the budget is balanced budget. In the budget, the revenue or receipts of the government can be broadly classified into revenue receipts and capital receipts. In the case of revenue receipts, it includes all receipts in the form of taxes, profits from financial institutions, and incomes in the form of fines, escheats, fees, etc. These revenue receipts are not going to change the asset and the liability of the government. The second receipt part, that is capital receipts. Capital receipts consist of interest from loans given by the government to other governments, and other receipts are the part of capital receipts. The capital receipts also include borrowings of the governments from internal and external sources. When we add revenue receipts and capital receipts, we will get the term total receipts in the budget. Likewise, there are two expenditure terms, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. In the case of revenue expenditure, it is related to all current expenditures which have to be completed in the year. And revenue expenditure will not create any changes in the assets and liabilities of the government. But when we talk about capital expenditure, this is also part of expenditure of the budget. Capital expenditure of a recurring nature, which is financed by borrowings. When we add these two expenditures, that is revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, we will get total expenditure. So in the explanation of budget, we talked about receipts and expenditure. Receipts can be revenue receipts and capital receipts. Expenditure can be revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. The difference between total receipts and total expenditure is termed as budget deficit. This is so crucial term, budget deficit. It related to the anticipated total receipts and anticipated total expenditure of the government during a financial year. If there is an imbalance between these two, can be termed as budget deficit. Then one more term we have to connect with the deficit of the budget, that is fiscal deficit. The borrowings and other liabilities added to budget deficit, we will get the term fiscal deficit. It means fiscal deficit is total receipts minus total expenditure plus borrowings and other liabilities. As I mentioned, budget is a plan of action. It is going to be the action plan of the government for the financial year. It includes anticipated revenue, anticipated expenditure, and thereby this budget policy, or otherwise we can say the fiscal policy, influences the people of this country. Thereby the term budget is so crucial. Thank you to all. Have a nice day.